Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have a great and wonderful day. And it seems that there is a woman here that was murdered in her own home as she was as so-called squatters. Now, the reason why is I wouldn't really. I have a problem with the word squatter in this instance, but also I understand why you would want to use the word squatters here. Because in this instance, where you have it, you have a woman that was murdered by people pretty much invading her home, but at the same time, there were also squatters trying to do things about her home as well. So there are two things you can do about this. We all know how strong New York is with their squatter laws. So that being said, the squatters, it's really hard to mix. So either way, you can say squatters, you can say home invaders, you can do either or, because honestly, it would fit the message of what's going on. I think squatters may be a little bit better here, just so it hits a bit more home of why bad New York is, how bad New York is with their actual squatter system, or squatter laws. So yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about. We have this here. Teenage squatters are arrested in Pennsylvania for murdering Manhattan mother and stuffing her body in a duffel bag. It says Nadia Vitale's 52 was found dead in the East 31st Street apartment in Manhattan's Kips Bay on March 14th after her family called the building superintendent to do a wellness check. The medical examiner ruled her death a homicide after an autopsy ruled she died from multiple facial fractures, a brain bleed, 2 broken ribs, and a blunt force trauma to the head. Authorities arrested teenagers Haley Chajeda, 19, and Kensley Allison, 18, in connection with her death in New York on Friday morning, according to the New York Post. The pair are thought to have been squatting in Vitale's apartment before they allegedly beat her to death. So, yeah, that's what's going on here in this case. It says NYPD officials did not receive the plate numbers on the car until the next day, but they know that the squatters immediately tried to spend $1,000 on a replacement vehicle. Medvedev remembered his mother as a smart and beautiful and adventurous woman during her funeral at Guttermore's funeral home in Woodbury on Monday. So yeah, that's what's the case that's been going on here in this situation. Again, guys, as I can keep on saying it just leave New York. Just leave this place. It is not safe to be here. So yeah, it's not safe to be in New York for multiple reasons. The train stations, the subways, they're terrible. They're incredibly unsafe. The uncleanliness, the huge amount of crime, the illegal migrants that are flooding the state, the ability where you just don't really have. Honestly, you just don't have rights to your homes anymore. It's quite awful in that instance. And, yeah, it's not great here, right? And so, I always say. And, of course, we have some people, of course, in the comments that are saying, like, oh, how New York is not the worst thing. It's just in the news. It's like, well, granted, I know there are squatters, there are squatter laws in all 50 states. I even said that all squatter laws should be either completely removed or redefined in some kind of way, because obviously it's being used for nefarious reasons. I personally think it should just be completely removed, because it's being used for more nefarious reasons than astral positives at this point in time. So I don't think they should really be allowed, per se, in our judicial system. I think all homeowners should have rights. Obviously, I can still understand why we would have them, for renter or, tenants and stuff trying to abuse or take control, or try to, abuse or take control of people's houses or renters and stuff like that. So I can understand why the laws may potentially be there. But right now, as I can see it, is that it's not really beneficial. It's not great. So, yeah. Here's the actual news or video of the whole situation breaking down here.
Squatters, who they say may be tied to the murder of a woman. Her body found stuffed inside a duffel bag inside her apartment. Very disturbing details here. Briella Tomasetti with our Fox 5 New York team joining us live with what we know so far. Good morning, Briella.
Yeah, Josh, this case is more than a week old, but police are finally starting to sort out some of these details. Having just flown in from abroad, the 52-year-old victim, Nadia Vittel, stopped by her late mother's apartment here in Kips Bay. It's right here in my rear view. And she was getting it ready for a family friend to move in. Cops say, though, when she unexpectedly found those squatters inside, that's when things took a turn for the worse. The NYPD has new insight on who may be connected to the murder of a woman whose body was found stuffed inside a duffel bag in her Manhattan apartment. Investigators are looking for a pair of squatters, a man and a woman, who they believe were staying in the apartment prior to the gruesome discovery. Police say 52-year-old Nadia Vittel was last seen walking into her apartment building on East 31st Street in Kips Bay last Tuesday.
It came as a complete shock and surprise, I didn't even know.
Gene Pompey is the building superintendent. He says surveillance video shows Vittel getting in the elevator and going up to her apartment on the 19th floor. A friend called to make a wellness check, but there was no answer.
So I went up, knocked on the door. I was just only the dog barking.
Shortly afterwards, the victim's son and two in-laws arrived to Vittel's apartment. When police got there, Vittel's lifeless body was found in the closet, stashed inside a duffel bag. Investigators claim she was beaten to death.
When I came into work, there was an ambulance here and one cop car.
Police allege the squatters had been staying in Vittel's apartment for days, and when she returned, the pair killed her and took off in her SUV. Security cameras captured the suspects coming in on Sunday and leaving Tuesday afternoon, the same day Vittel was last seen. It's believed that they drove her car across the George Washington Bridge into New Jersey and then into Pennsylvania, where they crashed the vehicle.
It's scary when something like this happens. You always expect it to happen somewhere else and not in your own neighborhood.
Republican State Assemblyman Jake Blumenkrantz has filed a bill that would make it easier for homeowners to remove squatters from their properties. Under New York state law, people who claim their tenants can't be arrested for trespassing. That also means homeowners can't change the locks, get rid of their stuff, or shut off the electricity. The bill would allow police to intervene and make arrests instead of forcing homeowners into an arduous court process. Yeah, and speaking of tenants' rights, a lot of states do give tenants the upper hand. Now, this bill states that tenants do not include squatters and give people rights after 45 days rather than the current 30 days, considering most short-term rentals here in New York City require the tenant, to stay for at least a month.
Yeah, so that's what's going on there in that situation. I'm wondering why they're not really showing the faces of these individuals that has killed this woman. Really quite interesting about that. But nonetheless, yeah, this woman was killed, and this is a very sad and horrible case that this happened to, and I hate to see it. Again, this is things that we need to do about New York, try to figure out some problems or what have you, because obviously this is a travesty, and people shouldn't have to worry or risk about themselves going into their own home and getting, murdered in it. The squatter laws in these states need to go. And I think that it's high time that we start looking at this law and say, hey, we need to do something about this. We either need to completely redefine this law or we need to remove it entirely. Because obviously it is not being used in a just way. If anything, the law is being completely used in a more abusive way. And if a law is constantly being abused consistently over and over again, where there's no actual justification for it. Like, for instance, if people are going to say, oh, well, firearms, well, okay, first off, firearms are used continuously and have outnumbered the amount of mass shootings and self-defenses in our country than the actual amount of killing. So there is the actual reason why it's there is for all the self-defense and stuff, and the actual cause and reasoning of that law, of them being here, outweighs heavily by the amount of people getting killed by it. So this is the reason why guns. However, what we're seeing here is that the squatter situation is being heavily outdone by people nefariously using it. It's not even the renters actually abusing some of the it's not even the tenants abusing some of the renters. It's more like the renters are abusing the tenants. So this is something that needs to be dealt with, and I think immediately, because right now you don't have the ability to do anything in your home, and if you do, you're killed. So we got to do something about this. Alright guys, that's it for the video. Like, share. As always, take care, my friends.
I'm disgusted by what I see in public. Even people closest to us can't be trusted. This is algorithmic disease, the social media.